May my homage to the gem of the Supreme Buddha. The Buddha is my refuge every day. May my homage to the gem of the Supreme Dhamma. The Dhamma is my refuge every day. May my homage to the gem of the Supreme Sangha. The Sangha is my refuge every day. May my homage to the Supreme Triple Gem. The Triple Gem is my refuge every day. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Samanta cakkavalesu atra gacchantu devata. Saddhammang munirajas sunantu saggamokkadang. Dhammasavana kalo ayang bhadanta. Dhammasavana kalo ayang bhadanta. Dhammasavana kalo ayang bhadanta. May all divine beings arrive here to listen to sublime Dhamma expounded by the fully enlightened one. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Honor to the Supreme Buddha, the Blessed One, the Exalted One, the fully enlightened One. Meritorious devotees, Dhamma friends, you all are going to listen to sublime Dhamma expounded by the fully enlightened One. The Supreme Buddha, having attained fully enlightened One, delivered first Dhamma sermon called Turning of the Wheel of Dhamma, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, at Isipatana, Benares on Asala full moon Foya day. Foya day like today. The Asala Foya day is very important for all the Buddhists in the world. Especially there are 3 cardinal occurrences taken place on this day. The very first thing is the conception of the Bodhisattva in the womb of the Queen Maya took place on this Foya day. Secondly, the great renunciation took place on this Foya day. Thirdly, as I mentioned, the first Dhamma sermon was delivered by the Supremely Enlightened One on this Foya day. Therefore, we must take into consideration the third aspect, especially the turning of the wheel of the Dhamma started on this Foya day, because the enlightened one delivered first Dhamma sermon to 5 ascetics at Isipatana, Benares on Asala full moon Foya day, which includes the gist of the Supreme Dhamma, the doctrine of the Supremely Enlightened One. There, especially the Supremely Enlightened One explicated the 4 noble truths that was never heard by any person in the world. This for the first time, this was heard by any person in the world, because only the Buddhas can explicate about the 4 noble truths to the world, human and gods and all. Therefore, the Supremely Enlightened One, what actually achieved, what actually gained, was the understanding of, comprehension of the 4 noble truths. What are 4 noble truths? Dukkha Ariya Satya. That means the truth of suffering. Then Dukkha Samudaya Ariya Satya, the truth of the cause of the suffering. Then dukkha nirodha ariya satya, the truth of the cessation of suffering. Then dukkha nirodha gamini patipada ariya satya, the truth of the cessation, the truth of the path leading to the cessation of suffering. These are the Four Noble Truths. Without knowing these Four Noble Truths, an innocent being, worldling, is rotating in this dangerous samsara. Now we all are rotating, walking in this dangerous samsara due to not knowing, the ignorance of these Four Noble Truths. So what actually expounded by the Supremely Enlightened One on Asala full moon for a day, 2600 years back, was actually these Four Noble Truths to the five ascetics. So after a Buddha Sasana is disappeared, the Four Noble Truths disappeared. That means they become latent. Another Buddha appeared and find out these Four Noble Truths and delivered to the world. This is the process going on, till we ourselves understand or comprehend the Four Noble Truths. We have to suffer in the samsara. So in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the Supreme Buddha explicates about the suffering which is latent in the world, which is hidden, which is not manifest. People cannot understand that there is suffering. People tend to think there is a kind of satisfaction in the world. Therefore, people are running after various material things like wealth, power, then money, education, fame, things like that, beauty, because people do not understand, mere worldlings don't understand that under the sensual pleasure, under sensual pleasures, hidden thing is suffering. What is manifest is sensual pleasure, but as an undercurrent, what is dominating factor there is suffering. So it is manifest, not always, not very often. Here and there it manifests. Sometimes for some people this come into operationalization always. For some people this doesn't operationalization, or this doesn't come to operationalization very often. Therefore, this takes place according to the person's wholesome and unwholesome actions. Therefore, meritorious devotees, Dhamma friends, however, almost all the beings in the world, including gods, Brahmas and all, humans and all the other beings, everywhere suffering is the dominant factor. When we attain Nibbana, then suffering disappeared forever. Therefore, we must try to comprehend the Four Noble Truths and finish our dangerous samsaric life. Now people are suffering these days physically and mentally in terms of various economic factors and various factors in society. Sometimes some less lack of fuel, lack of electricity, lack of gas, and various problems. Now we can remember earlier on there was a kind of some kind of crisis due to some interracial or interreligious problem, and later on it became, the corona pandemic came into operationalization. When it disappeared, then this problem came. So like that, there is a never ending process of suffering is going on. Not only that, the Supreme Buddha explicates in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta Kathamaca Bhikkhave Dukkhang Arya Satchang. O bhikkhus, what is meant by suffering or unsatisfactoriness? Jati pi dukkha. So birth is suffering. Now, why we have to undergo all sorts of these mental and physical suffering? Due to the birth. Therefore, Buddha saw the real cause. So that is why the Supreme Buddha wanted us to put an end to this re-becoming. And Natti Dhani Punabbavu. We have to put an end to this rebirth, re-becoming. Then we will not have to undergo suffering again and again. Therefore, what is called birth is suffering or unsatisfactory. What is actually meant by birth? Birth means birth of 6 faculties. The birth of an eye, birth of an ear, birth of an nose, birth of a tongue, birth of a body, birth of a mind. Actually, what is meant by jati or birth means the appearance of these 6 faculties. When these faculties are appeared, we have to face so many problems. Now there is I, then there are objects, then there is I consciousness. These 3 things come together. Tinnan sangati passo. When we have this passo contact, then feeling arises. Then feeling in the sense Vedana, passapacchaya Vedana. When feeling can be divided into 3. Pleasurable feeling, unpleasurable feeling, neutral feeling. When we have pleasurable feeling, we get attached. When we have unpleasurable feeling, we get detached. When we have neutral feeling, sometimes ignorant ideas may come into operationalization, or it is something either wholesome or unwholesome. So, feeling. When there is a feeling and attachment, then what will happen is we have craving, tanha. Then when we have tanha, then upadana takes place. Upadana means accumulating wholesome and unwholesome actions to be born in various planes of existence. When this upadana is there, then what is called attachment, and then upadana paccaya bhava. Bhava is bhava is wholesome and unwholesome actions, accumulation of wholesome and unwholesome actions. Bhava paccaya jati. Then we have re-becoming, rebirth or birth. Then when jati paccaya jara marana, when we have this birth, then jara or decay takes place. Then marana, death takes place. Then soka, sorrow, lamentation, parideva, dukkha, physical pain, domanassa, mental pain, and all these things takes place. That is how paticca samuppada or causal effect relationship takes place. So due to birth, all these things takes place, and there is unending process. This is an unending process, because when we have these faculties, always the karma is operationalizing, karma is taking place. So that causes for the continuation of this samsara, because we have to always we have to do various things with these faculties. So we are unable to control our faculties. Indriya samvara, it is very difficult. Therefore, always unwholesome things takes place. Therefore, the samsaric life journey is continuous. Therefore, this continuation of suffering takes place due to these 6 faculties, the both of these 6 faculties. Therefore, Dhamma friends, we must work hard and we have to strive on with diligence in order to stop this rebirth, re-becoming. Meritorious devotees, Dhamma friends. So jatipi dukkha, that is why Buddha said, or the expounded, that all suffering takes place due to this birth. When we are born, we have to undergo suffering. If we are not born, no suffering. But we have not stopped being born. Always we are doing various things once for the re-becoming again. When we have the attachment to the I, once again there will be an I. When we have the attachment to the ear, there will be a kind of ear once again. When we have attachment to nose, once again there will be a nose. When we have an attachment to tongue, once again there will be a tongue. When we have attachment to body, once again there will be a body. When we have attachment to mind, once again there will be a mind. But these faculties are, we get various type of faculties in terms of wholesome and unwholesome actions. For example, if we have accumulated merits to get a divine eye, then we get a divine eye. If we have accumulated demerits to get a eye of a goblin or preta, then we get that type of eye. Or animal, then we get a animal eye. Doggy or any other eye of buffalo or something like that. We have had such eyes, ears, nose, tongues, bodies and minds in the samsara. In the samsara, immeasurable eons of time that we have been suffering in the samsara. The final cause, the main cause according to the Supreme Buddha is craving. Dukkha samudaya. Dukkha samudaya is craving. So for no bhavika nandi raga sahagata tatra tatrabi nandini seyyati idang kama tanha. Craving for sensual pleasure. Bhava tanha, craving for existence. Vibhava tanha, craving for non-existence. Therefore, people cannot understand why we are suffering. We tend to blame. We tend to criticize others because of that person, because of this person, because of these groups of people. We have to suffer. No, meritorious devotees, Dhamma friends, we have to suffer because of our fault, our faults. What is the fault? We are in the samsara. We have accumulated demerits to be born again and again in the samsara. As long as we are in the samsara, we have to face all these problems. Now, this problem is not there for Venerable Sariputta Thero, Arahat Sariputta Thero. This problem is not there for Arahat Moggallana Thero. This problem is not there for Arahat Mahinda Thero, Mihindu Thero. So all the Arahants and all the Pacceka Buddhas, that means silent Buddhas, and all the Supreme Buddhas have, discarded all these problems, having attained Nibbana. But we are still in the problem. And some tend to think when one problem is over, then problems are over. No, because next time, when we are born in the next time, in whatever plane, once again the problem arises. 5 aggregates of clinging, where the 5 aggregates of clingings operates, the problems are there. Now, Rupa, form, feeling, Vedana, perception, Sanya, and volition, Chetana, then consciousness, Vijnana. When these 5 aggregates of clinging, Pancha Upadana Kanda, operates, wherever the problems are there. So still we have Pancha Upadana Kanda. Panchupadana means we are attached to the rupa, the form. We are attached to feeling. We are attached to perception. We are attached to and what is called rupa, vedana, sanya, then volition. We are attached to consciousness. Therefore, 5 aggregates of clinging in us are operating. The Supreme Buddha in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta explicated the suffering well. Jatipi dukkha, jarapi dukkha, decay is suffering. When we are getting old, suffering. There are so many people suffering. We neglect, we overlook, because still we are young, still we are small, then we overlook it. But one day we have to face the same problem. Now our fathers, our parents, our grandparents, our elderly relations, they have so many problems. They cannot walk, they cannot stand, they cannot sleep well due to decay, due to jara. So that is a problem. People don't talk about these problems. They always talk about material problems. But the Supreme Buddha understood the real problems. So birth is suffering, then decay is suffering, then sickness is suffering, another problem. Another dangerous problem, sickness. That means we have to undergo various diseases. Now last corona pandemic, very serious one. People had to die. Still problem is there. And not only such pandemics, but also other so many diseases. According to the sutta called Girimananda, there are so many diseases that we have to get contracted, and we have to sometimes die due to those diseases. So sickness is suffering. So what is called birth is suffering, decay is suffering, sickness is suffering. What else? And some other problems Buddha mentioned. Jatipi dukkha, jarapi dukkha, vyadipi dukkha, maranampi dukkha. Death is suffering. Now how many times, immeasurable times we had to die. No ending, no ending. If we want to end, we have to attain Nibbana. So if we want to attain Nibbana, first and foremost, we have to take refuge in the Triple Gem wholeheartedly. We have to do good deeds, merits, and we have to accumulate a lot of merits in order to get the power to comprehend this Dhamma. Therefore, it is not an easy task, but the Supreme Buddha's teaching is there. Triple Gem is there in the world. We can try this time. All these problems came in succession for us to, as a blessing according to my point of view, because then we tend to work hard for the attainment of Nibbana as early as possible. If a wise person understands these problems very carefully, meticulously, he or she wants to get rid of this sansaric life as early as possible. Therefore, meritorious devotees, Dhamma friends, what you have to do is to work hard and accumulate a lot of merits. Another thing that you have to understand, meritorious devotees, jarapi dukkha, vyadipi dukkha, maranampi dukkha, then associate persons that you don't like to associate. So that is also suffering. And another is dissociate from your pleasant is suffering. Association of the unpleasant is suffering. Appihi sampayogo dukkho. Dissociation of the pleasant is suffering. Now sometimes we have to what we have to do is to we have to depart from our parents, we have to depart from our beloved ones. So that is suffering. And the Supreme Buddha says association of the unpleasant is suffering, and dissociation of the pleasant is suffering. And if one not get one what wants is suffering. Yam pichang nalabati tampi dukkam. That means one is, one likes to live a long life, healthy life, deathless life, something like that. But one cannot lead a life like that. So that is also suffering. And finally the Supreme Buddha says, Sankittena panchupadana kanda dukkha. In a nutshell, 5 aggregates of clinging is suffering. So that is what is called suffering according to the Dhammacakka Pavattana discourse expounded by the fully enlightened one. On this day, I wanted to emphasize the main factor, emphasized by or delivered by the Supreme Buddha for the entire universe. And there are other 3 important truths, that is the cause of suffering. So in a nutshell, cause of suffering is craving. Then cessation of suffering, that is Nibbana. The path leading to the cessation of suffering, that is what is called Noble Eightfold Path. So if we follow these, if we have to comprehend these 4 noble truths, so if we follow the Noble Eightfold Path, then we can put an end to suffering and come to the attainment of Nibbana. So our main target or main objective should be, aspiration should be, to comprehend the 4 noble truths and get the emancipation and finally put an end to this dangerous samsaric life. So on this very, 4 day, especially as a 4 day, we must have a strong determination to comprehend the 4 noble truths expounded by the Supremely Enlightened One. May you all be able to achieve that goal as early as possible. May the Noble Triple Gem bless with you all. Akasattha ca bummatta devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakhantu buddha sasanang. Akasattha ca bummatta devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakhantu buddha desanang. Akasattha ca bummatta devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakhantu tang sada. May you all be well and happy.